Can any of you guys tell me what is similar about all three of these pictures?
They're all zebras.
Thank you, Hannah, for raising your hand.
They're all the same color.
You're right. Both of you are right. These are zebras and they are all the same color. But what do all of these zebras have that is important for zebras to have? Yes, Abby?
Stripes.
Right. And what is another word for a stripe? Yes, Hannah?
Maybe line?
Right. So what do you notice about these lines on these zebras? Yes, Abby?
They're going up and down.
Right. Yes?
Some of them are going side to side.
Right. Yes?
They're going from corner to corner.
Correct. All right. So there are different types of lines, and today we are going to learn about lines and all the different types. So do you know the name of all these directions the lines are going? No? All right. So side to side is horizontal. Up and down is vertical. And corner to corner is diagonal. Does that make sense? All right. So we need to add this to our word wall. Who wants to put the definition on the board? All right, Abby, can you write the definition on the back of this? Thank you. All right, now we're gonna put this on our word wall. And you guys can use that for future reference in the class. If you earlier, we were learning about lines. All right, so what is a line? Like we talked about earlier, it's kind of like a stripe on a zebra. It's a moving point on a surface or a continuous mark. And it is a point moving in space. So on the zebras, the line is moving from side to side, or up and down, or corner to corner. And like our zebras, we talked about horizontal lines. Have you heard of the word horizon? Yeah? Okay, so this is kind of where that comes from. It's from left to right, and so it's just kind of like where the sky meets the land, or the sky meets the water. It's like a horizon line. All right, and so different lines have different kind of feelings that are associated with them in art. So the horizon line can create feelings of rest or calm, and like things are connected because, like we talked about, it connected the sky to the ground, and it makes a complete artwork. So here's an example of a horizon line in an artwork. Like I was just talking about, you see how the sky is connected right here to the water, and the horizon line is going all the way to the side. And even these birds down here are going in a general line that is horizontal. So and the waves create different horizontal lines, and there's just different horizontal lines throughout the painting. The next line we talked about were vertical lines. So these were the ones that were going up and down on the zebra. And like I just said, vertical lines travel up and down, and they kind of give the feeling of height in class. So your vertical line would be your feet to your head. How tall are you?
5 foot.
All right, so that's a vertical line. And like we just talked about, vertical lines have a feeling of height, and they make things feel taller or exaggerated. That could happen. And here is an example of vertical lines in an artwork. So most of the tree trunks are going straight up and down, and there's a whole bunch of them. And do they feel tall? Are they tall? Yep. These vertical lines create a feeling of height in this artwork. And the third line we're going to talk about today are diagonal lines. These are the lines that we're going from corner to corner in our zebra. And they are defined as going from side to side or corner to corner like these arrows are showing. And these can create feelings of imbalance. It can make things feel unbalanced and kind of crazy and chaotic. And here are some examples of diagonal lines. And this one, it actually shows arrows showing the direction of diagonal lines. And here's some diagonal lines in this tree. And this tree is a lot different from the tree we just saw with examples of vertical lines. And this makes the trees seem a lot more unbalanced than the last set of trees, right? Alright, can you guys pick out an example of a vertical line in this classroom? Yes, Abby?
On the whiteboard, there are lines on the sides.
And how do you know it's a vertical line?
Because it's up and down.
Right. Can you find an example of a horizontal line? Yes?
Also on the whiteboard, the one at the bottom.
And how do you know it's horizontal?
It's going from side to side.
Now, can we find an example of a diagonal line in the classroom? That one's a little bit harder. It could be this thing right here, because it's not directly flat. So it's coming up a little bit. It's not flat and it's not up and down, it's somewhere right in between. So now that we know a little bit about lines and how they work in art, we're going to read a story and see if you can figure out the storyline from the pictures in the book. Okay? So this is Harold and the Purple Crayon. One evening, after thinking it over for some time, Harold decided to go for a walk in the moonlight. There wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight. Alright, before I tell you what's happening, can anyone tell me what they think is going on in this picture? Yes, Abby.
I think that he's gonna make like a thing to walk on because it's going down at an angle, so it's giving the picture height.
Okay. What kind of lines are in this?
It's like kind of a vertical line, but it's at a little bit of an angle, so it's like a diagonal.
Right. And what would this line be? It's connecting the background to the ground.
Horizontal.
Right. Alright, so we'll see what it says. And he needed something to walk on. Abby, you were right. He made a long, straight path so he wouldn't get lost. And he set off on his walk, taking his big purple crayon with him. But he didn't seem to be getting anywhere on the long, straight path. So he left the path for a short cut across a field, and the moon went with him. The shortcut led right to where Harold thought a forest ought to be. He didn't want to get lost in the woods, so he made a very small forest with just one tree in it. Abby, what kind of lines are making the tree?
They're vertical lines.
All right. It turned out to be an apple tree. The apples would be very tasty, Harold thought, when they got red. So he put a frightening dragon under the tree to guard the apples. It was a terribly frightening dragon. What kind of lines are making the teeth?
Diagonal lines.
And how do you know that?
Because they're going from corner to corner.
Very good. It even frightened Harold. He backed away. His hand holding the purple crayon shook. Suddenly, he realized what was happening. What do you think's happening?
Make it water.
What's gonna happen?
Maybe it's gonna fall in the water.
So what do you think he needs to make?
A boat.
Let's see if that's what he makes. But by then, Harold was over his head in an ocean. He came up thinking fast. And in no time, he was climbing aboard a trim little boat. What line is making at the top of the boat?
Horizontal.
All right, and you were right about the boat. He quickly set sail. What lines are we seeing in the sail?
A horizontal and a diagonal line. And a vertical
So we're seeing all three lines in that sail. And the moon sailed along with him. After he had sailed long enough, Harold made land without much trouble. He stepped ashore on the beach, wondering where he was. The sandy beach reminded Harold of picnics, and the thought of picnics made him hungry. So he laid out a nice, simple picnic lunch. There was nothing but pie. But there were all 9 kinds of pie that Harold liked best. When Harold finished his picnic, there was quite a lot left. What do we think is happening here?
Making a friend.
And what makes you think that?
Because it looks like he's drawn a face.
Okay, let's see if you're right. So Harold left a very hungry moose and a deserving porcupine to finish it up. And off he went, looking for a hill to climb to see where he was. Harold knew that the higher up he went, the farther he could see, so he decided to make the hill into a mountain. What kind of line does it look like he's trying to make?
Diagonal one?
Right. If he went high enough, he thought he could see the window of his bedroom. He was tired and he felt he ought to be getting to bed. He hoped he could see his bedroom window from the top of the mountain. Uh-oh, what's happening here?
He's falling.
He's kind of falling in the direction of a diagonal line, right? But as he looked down over the other side, he slipped. And there wasn't any other side of the mountain. He was falling in thin air. But luckily, he kept his wits and his purple crayon. What do you think he's going to make? What does this line suggest to you that he's going to make?
Plane?
A plane? Well, maybe. Let's see. He made a balloon, and he grabbed onto it. And he made a basket under the balloon big enough to stand in. What kind of lines is he using to make the basket?
Vertical and horizontal.
Right. He had a fine view from the balloon, but he couldn't see his window. He couldn't even see a house. So if he can't find a house, what do we think Harold's going to do?
Make a house.
And what kind of lines go into a house?
Horizontal and vertical and diagonal.
What part of the house is the diagonal lines?
The roof.
And how do we know that?
Because the roofs are like this.
Alright. What part of the house makes the horizontal line?
The like walls. The like foundation.
Right, where the house meets the ground.
Yeah.
And what lines are making up the vertical line?
The walls.
The walls? Correct. Good job. So he made a house with windows. And he landed the balloon on the grass in the front yard. None of the windows was his windows. He tried to think where his window ought to be. What did we talk about this line being? Where the sky is meeting the ground.
Horizontal line.
And what was the other word I mentioned that could be?
Horizon.
A horizon line, right. He decided to ask a policeman. The policeman pointed the way Harold was going anyway, but Harold thanked him. But none of the windows was his window. He couldn't think where it might be. He remembered where his bedroom window was when there was a moon. It was always right around the moon. And he walked along with the moon, wishing he was in his room and in bed. Then suddenly, Harold remembered. He made some more windows. He made a big building full of windows. He made lots of buildings full of windows. He made a whole city full of windows. And then Harold made his bed. He got in it and he drew up the covers. The purple crayon dropped on the floor and Harold dropped off to sleep. So what did we think of the story?
I liked it.
Isn't it interesting how you could tell kind of what was going to happen without looking at the words? You were reading art. And lines can help tell a story. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing?
So I drew a diagonal line, and I think it makes me feel scared because it's different. I don't like it.
Okay, now that we've had a lot of practice with lines and we know what they mean and kind of the feelings with them, and we know lines can tell a story, I've given you guys a picture with lots of different lines in it, and then I cut off the outside of the picture. So I want you guys to predict. Do we know what that means? Alright, we're going to predict what is in the rest of the picture, this whole paper, and you're going to continue the lines and finish your picture. I've got crayons here for you, and I've got markers. And then you're going to finish this little story, and then when we're done, we're going to talk about our story and the different lines that are in it, and we'll discuss it. Do we understand? All right, let's get started.
These are flowers.
All right, can you tell me about your creation?
I have more chairs, and I have a carpet on the floor, and it has flowers on it, and these are the horizontal lines. And then these are more lights, and these are vertical lines, and these are horizontal lines. And then this is where the ceiling and the wall meet, and that's a horizontal line. And then I have a unicorn, and its horns are diagonal lines. And then I have some vertical lines for the hair.
Alright, did we have fun with our activity?
Yeah!
Yeah? Alright, you guys told me some interesting things. During this activity, all of you included all three types of lines. We had horizontal lines, we had vertical lines, and there was even some diagonal lines in there. We learned that we can still make lines don't just have to be things in real life. She made diagonal lines on top of a unicorn which is a mythical creature, not real. So lines can make anything. And then we had some diagonal lines that were kind of different than what we learned about, but they're still diagonal. So we experimented and we explored and we learned new things. So today, can anybody sum up what we learned about? What were the three types of lines? Yes, Abby?
And there was vertical and horizontal lines.
Okay, what was the third one? Does anybody know? Yes, Sam?
Diagonal.
Diagonal. And what are diagonal lines?
They're from corner to corner.
Okay. What are horizontal lines?
They're side to side.
What are vertical lines?
They're up and down.
Alright, lines are everywhere. They're not just in art, they're everywhere. So when you leave here today, I want you to look at all the different kinds of lines you see throughout your day. And then we can talk about them next time in class. And then we'll learn about more types of lines. Alright, great job today, guys. Thank you.